2012, Richard and Suzanne Friedrichs and Marty Schmidt attended a Christian spirituality conference in Assisi, Italy. Their learnings present an enticing challenge to our school community, which can be put in the form of a question. How can HKIS take what it does well, academic excellence and rich extracurricular offerings, and integrate these into a Christian vision of education that is fulfilling to students and beneficial to society? This is a tall order, of course, but one of the conference leaders, Cynthia Bourgeault, seems uniquely qualified to offer a response. As a priest, mystic, and global spiritual leader, she has much to say on this topic. And as a grandmother of 3 HKIS students, she can speak insightfully with our school context in mind.
There's already extremely good education going on to prepare kids for the global nature of the world and the interconnected nature of the world from a horizontal standpoint, But what we still need to understand more is that this new world is going to need whole human beings. And that you can't do it with that mental egoic consciousness anymore because it fries and splits. Like Einstein said, you can't solve a problem at the level it was created. And that there needs to be real serious intention built into the curriculum to understand that the brain evolution being supported by what used to be called the spiritual arts. Because the spiritual arts, which basically develop the non-dual brain and the capacity for non-judgmental thinking and compassionate action, are absolutely crucial to the survival of the planet.
Teachers seem increasingly aware of how HKIS students, despite their evident materialism, seem genuinely concerned about the global environment and about the plight of many people in places distant from their HKIS bubble.
This generation of students coming up are really the first generation that really absolutely are going to come of age in a world where responsibly we know we're interconnected. And nobody can bail, and nobody can use resources irresponsibly because we aren't going to have them. If you mine the hell out of a corner of China, it's going to show up in the ecosystem somewhere else. So we've hit the ceiling, and we're one in that sense. We're one in that our financial networks and our communication networks are totally interwebbed.
The big question facing not only civilization at large, but HKIS in particular, is how can we upgrade our egoic operating system to one that is truly non-dualistic? One strategy that has proved especially effective in cracking the outer shell of the ego among older students is service learning.
One of the things about service, when you look at it from the terms of the development of consciousness that we talked about earlier, is that so much service is hands-on. And it's among populations like your orphanage and things like that are incredibly hands-on. And you've told me wonderful stories about breakthroughs in kids to actually just touch an orphan baby or child.
I think it's actually a form of meditation.
It is.
Because you're doing that repetitive motion
of
exactly. Caring, and you're away from school.
Yeah.
So I think it is a form of meditation.
So service, what it does is pull down, and not speaking at it with any sort of values language at this moment, but just evolution of the brain language, that what it does is provides that component. Because service is always with the people that are in the downwardly mobile sectors, which means that they haven't lost their connection with that moving physicality of life. And that's the huge danger for people who live in the bubble, who are entitled and who go to schools that are mindy and live in high-rise apartments.
While service can be very effective, HKIS needs to bring non-dualistic ways of thinking into the daily life of all our classrooms, not just on off-campus ventures.
The getting it back together again are a couple of simple tricks. One having to do with grounding it in the body. And that's why the athletics are so important, and not just team sports, but one of the strongest skills that the spiritual traditions would say is when the mind starts doing that. Take a walk and don't think.
To raise our thinking from dualistic to non-dualistic, Cynthia suggests that HKIS consider using various forms of silence, meditation, and mindfulness, which emerge from the depths of the world's wisdom traditions. Her personal favorite is a Christian spiritual practice called centering prayer.
Centering prayer, or any meditation, teaches you how to stop the thinking, or at least stop the hanging on to the thinking. So you get the capacity to say, not now, mind. I know that if I go down that track, you're just going to suck me dry. So you can cut the chatter. So it has two aspects. On the one hand, it's a great reliever of stress because it's our thinking that drives us crazy. It's a really important way for kids today who live necessarily in atmospheres of high stress to create a kind of private inner room, as they call it in the Bible, where you can go and get relief from the outer pressure that's on you from your parents, from your teachers, from are you going to get into college, and from the inner pressure that you put on yourself by your constant thinking. Centering prayer and all meditation, but particularly centering prayer, helps to participate in that wiring that allows the more advanced evolutionary parts of the brain, the forebrain, to really get online and to handle the data coming in and to bring it into sympathetic resonance with the heart.
Centering prayer dampens the egoic mind so that we can access the way of wisdom and wholeness.
But it allows you to think inclusively and globally without having to split into them or an us, or better or worse, or more or less, or right or wrong. It just takes the picture.
When students are taught meditation, they often say that they're no good at it. They just can't control their minds.
Well, I would say that there's no such thing as being bad at centering prayer. That almost all of us pick up from the culture or somewhere the idea that you're good at meditation if you sit down and instantly go into bliss. No thinking, no thoughts. And for the vast majority of people, that doesn't happen. When you sit down, what you first experience is that you're totally helpless against this sort of onslaught of thoughts. It's like one thought after another, after another, after another comes at you. And so the first thing you experience is almost a sort of nausea sometimes about what the Buddhists call your monkey mind. And it's no different from life, but all of a sudden you see it. Because when you're out there busy doing your homework or, struggling with your peer group, the same thing is going on, but you don't see it because you have an external focus. But that's why you come home and you're tired and you're angry and you're upset. So the first thing that happens to most students is you experience how agitated your mind is. And it's such an unpleasant experience. You don't want to go there, so you say, I'm no good at it. And you experience that you're helpless to stop the unpleasantness of your mind and the agitation. This is good news because now you're seeing it. And what centering prayer says that I think is so revolutionary is that you don't have to stop the agitation of your mind.
When Cynthia was asked how teachers themselves could better develop non-dual consciousness, she had only one suggestion besides deepening spiritual practices: learn more about brain research.
The brain, particularly in young people up to the age of about 30, has this incredible capacity to rewire itself, and is at this age of really saying, sock it to me, bring it on. What's going to be needed in my wiring to be able to sustain and stabilize this non-dual consciousness that's really needed to run the world?
Marty and Richard asked Cynthia what she thought it meant to be a Christian school in our international and multicultural context.
I think that it doesn't make the school be less Christian. I think it invites the school to be more Christian. And to say that Christianity is the portal through which we, it's our home base. It's the platform through which we open the gateways to the infinite. But we respect and we encourage and honor all the other gateways. And we're not going to deny those gateways. And to be an international school doesn't mean to forget spirituality or to be spirituality light. It means to embrace the other religions so deeply and to come forward with a kind of naked revelation of who we are, that we all move to a new level. So I don't think there's any problem with being a Christian school, but it's important with being an inclusive Christian school.
HKIS oftentimes says that as a Christian school, students are offered an opportunity to develop a relationship with God. In her writing, Cynthia sometimes speaks of this goal in terms of seeking divine union.
In a sense, it's kind of the great myth of our times, because you can't possibly be out of union with God. So you're never out of union with God. But what happens is your little self, which develops really strongly from about the time you're 6 to about your time 12, doesn't know this. And so when it starts to think about things, it says, well, there's the stars, and God's up there somewhere beyond the stars, and I gotta find God. So God looks like the thing that's missing. But only that infinite capacity of our brain that begins to open up when we're 16 to 30, only that can know that union with God, which is the simple fact that the full of the moon and the sliver are always together and are always one.
As 20th century Catholic monk Thomas Merton explained, the gate of heaven is everywhere. To be a Christian school in Asia in the 21st century means teaching not only to the mind, but also to the body and the spirit in such a way that students can experience wholeness and interconnectedness. Such a life of integrity naturally leads to compassionate action for others, and perhaps a thirst for divine union.
You get brighter every day, and every time I see you. Scattered brightness in your way, and you taught me how to love you. And I know you belong to everybody, but you can't deny that I'm you. I know you belong to everybody, but you can't deny that I'm you. Oh,